heart of the Appalachian Mountains, something ancient lingers. Whispers in the fog, footsteps on empty trails, and shadows that don't belong. Haunted mysteries buried in Appalachia's past and still haunting its present. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's take a look.
What do you want on your tombstone? What do you want it to say? Honey, bold of you to assume I'm going to be down there. But I have given it some thought, and I'm a little concerned. I'm a little worried it's going to say something like, here lies Crimson, cause of death. She was told the house was haunted, but the rent was cheap. Or she finally learned how to whistle, but it was outside and at night. You know, wrong place, wrong time. You get it. She's not here. She followed the lights into the woods and never came back out. She summoned the ancient eldritch horror. It just didn't want to be your friend. She fed the stray dog, but that thing wasn't a dog. Or, my favorite, watch your step. She's just taking a nap. So what would your tombstone say?
What's out there? I have asked this question so many times. You know, as a little kid, you're just given these rules and you follow them because that's what you do. But as you get older, you start questioning things like, why am I not allowed to whistle in the woods? How come as soon as it gets dark, Mom starts pulling all the curtains closed? And then you start to have bizarre experiences and your friends start to have strange things happen to them. And then you start reading the stories of people going missing and never found. Their bodies never recovered. It's just like they vanished into thin air. There's animals. There's people in the woods that live off the grid away from society. But I don't think those things are causing all of these strange occurrences. Truth is, I don't know what it is. And when I ask people that are much older and much wiser than me, they seem very hesitant to talk about it. I follow the rules.
So I'm going to tell y'all a story about something I saw when my grandfather was dying. He was on hospice at home. At the point that this happened, it was the day before he died. He had been non-responsive for a while. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. Me, my oldest daughter, who was 20 at the time, and our cousin, who was also 20, were up in the living room talking. And it being 3 a.m., obviously everybody else in the house was asleep. It was very quiet. And out of nowhere, I had this feeling that I needed to go and check on my grandfather. And every second that I didn't get up and go, that thought would get louder and louder and louder in my head to where it was like, you need to go now, now, now. So finally I got up and took off. And when I did, my daughter hopped up too. And she said, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to check Papa. So we go down the hall to his bedroom. Now, in my grandparents' house, my grandfather's bedroom, the furnace runs up behind the wall of his bedroom. So that room is always extremely hot. It's much hotter than the rest of the house. So when I opened his bedroom door, I expected it to be pretty warm. Well, the air that rushed out when I pushed the door open was like 10 or 15 degrees colder than the hallway. And that was already odd. Well, I went to look towards his hospice bed, and there was something standing there, like leaned over his head. It looked to be about 6 foot tall, but instead of being shaped like a person, it was like wiggly. I don't really know how to describe it. And it was all black, like a shadow, but you could see through it. But when it would move, you could see the shadows move like body parts. So when I saw it, I went, and when I did, where it was like leaned over his head, where its head would have been, went and turned towards me. And it disappeared. Well, as soon as it disappeared, the temperature went back up. And I'm standing there frozen in shock. And then I realized my daughter was standing right behind me. Now, all I had said was, but when I turned around, my daughter looked absolutely terrified. And she looked at me and she said, "Mom, what the f*** was that?" So we both saw it. And we spent weeks trying to figure out what that was, because my grandfather died the next day. His death was very peaceful despite that, but there was something off about this thing. And about 3 months after this, my grandmother also got deathly ill. And my daughter had come home from college to stay with her. And the second night she was home at 3 a.m., my daughter texted me and said, "Mom, that thing is back. It is standing in the hallway outside of my grandmother's bedroom." She said that it was just standing there. It wasn't moving. And it seemed not to want to go past my grandmother's room. My grandparents' house was built in the 1940s. It had a very long hallway. And if you're looking down the hallway, my grandfather's bedroom was at the end. Halfway up on the right-hand side was my grandmother's room. And right beside her room was an old grandfather clock. Directly across from the grandfather clock was another hallway. And in that hallway was a little entry table that my grandmother had placed some family antiques, pictures, things like that. So, this thing was standing almost in front of the clock. And my daughter asked me what to do. And I told her I didn't know. The only thing I could think of was to stand where she was at the other end of the hallway and out loud tell it to leave and that it wasn't welcome, because honestly, I had no idea what else to do. No idea. Not an idea. So that's what she did. And it left. Well, my grandmother got better. And me and my daughter we spent more and more and more weeks trying to figure out what this thing was. So one day I was going through pictures I had taken at my grandparents' house when my grandfather was sick, and I came across something, and I think I figured out what this thing was. So my grandmother's father was a very bad man. He died before I was born, and I'm very glad of that. I'm not going to go into the things he did, but I imagine when I tell you to think of the worst thing you can, just go with that. And my grandmother still has some of his things. So that little entry table I mentioned earlier has a picture of my great-grandmother on it. The one who was married to this man. I'm going to show you a picture I took of her picture. And there was nobody there with me when I took this. But I want you all to look in the reflection of this. I'm going to post it now. What the is that? This picture is directly across the hall from that clock. And when I saw the picture, I realized my grandmother keeps her father's service pistol locked in that clock. And that's what I think we saw.
I live in the Smoky Mountains near the Appalachian border, okay? In Kodak, Tennessee. It's 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I need you to know what I just saw in the woods, okay? So let's go. It's a regular night. Me and our daughter are sitting in our hot tub on our property, and she's on the phone with one of her friends, all right? Then I hear some leaves. Don't think anything about it, but we've got like lots of critters and stuff running around, so I stand up over on the ledge of the hot tub to look over our privacy fence to shine the light. I have my shot pew in my left hand and my spotlight in my right hand, and I'm looking Looking. Boom. See it. I say, Kaylin, get down right now. She gets off. She's standing in the hot tub. We're looking at this at the same time. I see this. Just one glowing green eye. Okay. Everything around it is completely distorted. You can't see the two privacy lights that are long ways on the other property behind it. You can't see the red tower in the background. You can't see anything. Okay. Everything around it is completely distorted. So I'm shining the light on it constantly, thinking that eventually it'll move. I'll be able to tell what it is. Okay. And it does like this. And it's at this moment that I realize that whatever is watching us is intelligent and is watching us. Okay? So we keep looking, trying to figure out what's going on. I watched this thing. We both did go crash down like this. Okay? So now I can see like this instead of like this. From 4 legs and stand up and step around the tree from 4 legs to 2 legs okay? And then it starts like this, like stepping, like weird gait, okay? It's not moving quickly. It's still just me and it, and that's it, all right? Me and my daughter and this thing. Complete silence. There should be noise from it walking on the leaves, moving through the woods. Nothing. We got the out of there so quick. I need to know if anybody has seen or experienced anything like this. I don't know how long that thing was watching us, but literally, just like this. And then it decides, okay, you're going to keep watching me, fine. No. And why? If I'm shining my light directly on you, all I can tell is that you go from 4 legs to 2 legs, but I can't see anything else. I can't tell if you're hairy. I can't tell what color you are. I can't make out any facial features. Just 2 glowing green eyes. That's it. Here's what's bothering me so bad about this encounter, okay? It saw me scanning the woods for a while. It could have completely hidden. It could have ducked down. It could have left. And I wouldn't have known anything. It chose to continue to let me see it like this. It chose when to reveal itself. And it still didn't turn. It didn't leave. It didn't do anything except for get bigger and move towards us. And the strides that this thing was taking to walk and move, I know for a fact it was at least 7 feet tall, but I'm serious when I say when it got big, I'm thinking it had to have been at least 8 or 9 feet tall. And completely silent, okay? And my husband saw something out there the other night, but it wasn't alone. But again, watching it move, no noise. No noise.
And light's eyes reflect without light.
And the
eyes reflect without light. It doesn't make sense.
The last video I posted telling about scary stories and events that happened to me while living in Appalachia really blew up, so I want to make a part 2. So this is the second scariest thing that's ever happened to me while living in Appalachia. For a recap, I'm 21 years old. I've lived in Appalachia my whole life, specifically in the North Georgia mountains. And this story is my encounter with what I believe to be a black-eyed child. And if you don't know what a black-eyed child is, it's essentially like a demon that takes the form of a child with black eyes. It's scary. But I believe truly in my heart I encountered one this day. So, pretext. I was in middle school. The last story I told, the deer creature, was in high school. This is middle school. I was in middle school in the playing in my backyard. Again, live in the mountains. I was playing Star Wars with lightsabers. I think I was playing Force Unleashed, pretending I was Star Killer. I was running around the woods, my lightsaber hitting And my dog was with me at the time. My dog's still alive. I would ask him his thoughts on the story, but, you know, I don't think he would be much help. But I was running through the woods and I was playing, you know, all this. I kept noticing something in the corner of my eye. So this is a specific feeling. I don't know if much people remember, but when you're a kid, you can kind of tell when there's other kids around you because it's like a vibe, right? Like, you know that feeling you get on the playground, there's like a bunch of other kids there versus if you go to the playground like by yourself or fewer people there when you were a kid. It was that feeling. I had this feeling that there was another kid kind of there. It was just like this feeling that something was like watching me play and kind of wanted to join in. But it was also this dreadful feeling, this horrible, dreadful feeling. So I was running through the woods near my house and my dog started acting really strange as well. Like he started kind of like, I can't say the word, but like barking up and kind of like being, you know, territorial. And I just assumed it was deers because, you know, dogs are weird. They'll piss on everything. So running through the woods, and then I see something. Okay, I will never forget this until I'm dead. So where I'm at in the woods, there's this steep hill and there's this little valley area and it's like, you know, it goes down. So I'm playing and I noticed something just staring at me. Like I could feel it staring at me, and in my mind as a child, I knew something was staring at me. I looked up and there I saw it for a brief second. And in this moment, I remember fully because I could see every detail, every single gruesome detail on this thing. It was a child with grayish, whitish, toned skin, unkempt black hair that looked like it was trying to be cut into a bowl cut. Its eyes were dark. That's the one thing that sticks out to me. Like, if you live in the South, you experience darkness, right? Because especially if you live in the southern states where you're far from cities and towns, the only light you have sometimes is the moon and the stars. But if it's cloudy, you got nothing. That was the best comparison I could say on the feeling I got from this and the thing's eyes. And when I saw it, it was like a brief that, but my eyes locked onto it. After my eyes locked onto it, I stared for what felt like maybe 2 seconds, but felt way longer. I blinked, and then the thing was gone. My dog started freaking out, dude. He started barking and snapping and wearing up on everything. And I turned and I ran as fast as my little legs could. I was probably like a good mile into the woods. And I ran home, and I can't remember if I went to my parents first or my sister first. But I ran home because they live right next to us, and I was sobbing my eyes out, dude. It was bad. I was tweaking out. And I've never seen that thing again. But everywhere that woods was, I have explored thoroughly. Then and now. There is no settlement set up. There's no signs of life other than animals in those parts of the woods. And I've never seen this thing since, but the vision of what it was has been burnt into my head ever since. I know that's not as intense as a deer creature running towards my car with its neck flapping, but at the moment it scared the shit out of me really, really bad.
This was my very first encounter with being charged at from something in the woods of the Appalachian Mountains. So this occurred a few years ago in broad daylight. This stuff does not always happen at night. So I think it was between like 8 to 10 in the morning. I get up to take my dog outside. Now, let me tell you about the layup around my house. Layup, I don't know. So I live in a townhouse, but to my backyard, I'm looking at my backyard to explain it. I'm in front of a window. But there's a field, there's a busy road, and across that busy road is a field. And to the left a little bit is a little wooded area. I say little, but honestly, it's not a little wooded area. So I always take my dog outside of my front door and to the right. So you have a direct line of vision to the trees in my backyard. We're just standing there and my dog's doing her thing and things go silent. There are no cars on this busy road, which is not normal for that time of day. No birds, no nothing, silent. The wind stops blowing. It is a windy day. The wind stops blowing. And I look down at my dog, who is now intensely staring into these woods. So right as I look up to the woods myself to see what she's staring at, she takes off running. And she's on a leash, so obviously I'm trailing right behind her. Now I shut my main front door and the screen door behind me. As we are both charging up to this door, I watch the main door of my house swing open. So I get to the door, I open the screen door, get inside, I hear the screen door shut, The main door shut and something slams into the door. It slams into the door so hard that pictures fly off my wall. I immediately look through the peephole and there's nothing there because I just assumed like a man was chasing. Nothing. So ever since that happened, I have had strange occurrences, especially with this wooded area in particular. I will hear my name being called, laughter, hey repeatedly, crying, screaming, and it's not just me. People that are around me in this house will also hear that happen. The legend goes, once you do something to get its attention, especially running, you are stuck with it until it gets you or until you pass from like something else. And I have found that to be true so far because that happened years ago and I'm still dealing with it.
I was 9 years old and I was laying on the floor with my childhood dog. We were in the dining room and I had the lights off because it was nighttime outside, and if you lay on the floor and stretch out, you can look out the sliding door and see the stars. I just wanted to hang out and stargaze with my dog. Everything's calm and quiet. My brother's all the way down the hallway playing video games and my parents are in the living room. If my mom's not there to cause a scene, then the other side will take care of it. They're watching TV 2 rooms over, but I hear footsteps. I immediately turn over and now I'm facing the hallway because I want to see who's coming. I'm assuming it's my brother. That's when a shadow figure appeared at the entrance to the hallway. The shadow figure is just standing there and it's not moving, and it looks like it's about the height of a grown man until it hears me speak. When I say who's there, all of a sudden it shrinks down on itself onto its hands and knees, about the size of a little boy. And the little boy turns and looks at me. I can't make out its face or its clothes. So I just go, oh, it's you, thinking this is my brother messing with me. For about 3 seconds, me and this shadow figure, this shadow boy, are staring at each other. The whole time, it doesn't say anything. I'm thinking, why is my brother not saying anything? And as the seconds pass, I start to realize that's not my brother. The moment that clicks, I jumped up, left my poor dog, and sprint to the living room. Of course, my parents don't believe me. They think I'm just seeing shit. I stayed in the living room for an hour until I finally had the courage to run and turn on the hall light. The hall light being on gives me courage to step into the dining room and turn that light on. I'm standing in the exact spot that the shadow figure was as it crouched down, and obviously the figure's gone and my dog's laying there like nothing happened. Then I go down the hall and I knock on my brother's door and I make my way in. I ask him, hey, were you just in the dining room an hour ago? And he denies it. No, I wasn't. Get out of my room. At first, I didn't believe him because we are prone to pull pranks on each other, but then I realized he's sitting under 2 layers of blankets, he's in the middle of a Fable campaign, and his other free hand is in a bag of chips. He hasn't left this spot in hours. And that's the end of the story. I never saw the shadow figure again. To this day, I can't believe that when I jumped up to run out that I didn't turn the light switch on. I ran past the light switch. I could have flicked it on to see if the shadow figure would have disappeared before my eyes or if it wasn't there at all. But I didn't. Little me ran for the hills. And I think the reason it shrunk down to a child's form was to trick me into thinking it was another child. When we're kids, our third eyes are open more. It closes as you get bigger. Unless you're a medium, then it stays open. I think that explains why I was the only one that saw it and why I haven't seen another one since.
I went for a walk and I look up and I see my neighbors.
I've lived in the Appalachian Mountains for as long as I can remember. About 10 years ago, I lived with my mom in this trailer that was set in these backwoods, and I and many of my friends throughout the years told me that these woods felt like cursed Native American grounds. Early morning hour type of lighting, if you know what I mean. So I was driving down this wooded road and I saw a fox run across the street in front of me. It was only about 2 car lengths away. I saw it start to run across. I had just passed it as soon as it crossed the street. And I really love foxes, so I slowed down to watch the fox run up this hill that was there. It's a very steep hill, so I knew it would take a minute to kind of get up the hill. So I stopped right after I passed it, and I looked over my shoulder to see the fox again, and it kind of like stopped halfway on the hill, and it began to like morph and stand, and it became this dark, shadowy human figure, and it slowly began to turn to look at me. And I knew that if whatever that thing was made eye contact with me, I was going to be gone. Off the face of this planet. Gone. So, I didn't even think twice. I drove. I drove off as fast as I could. I got to my house. I locked all the doors, closed the curtains, and went into my bedroom and cried. I was terrified. I didn't go anywhere for the rest of the day. It was a terrifying experience.
I live on a mountain road in Fanning County. This road is extremely dark. There is no lights on it. Nobody turns on their porch lights or anything like that. No security lights. I don't even think there's motion sensor lights. And, there is only five full-time families that live on this road, us being one of them. So, when people come in and out of the road, we know exactly who it is. Okay. This takes place, when we first moved in. We're still running on generator power. We haven't got our power in yet. And it's 3:00 in the morning. Okay. And, this is before we actually started closing our blinds every night. And this is one of the reasons why. It's 3:00 in the morning, which I'm usually getting up at 3:00 in the morning. Still am to this day. And, I'm going to the restroom. You know, no big deal. Just going to the restroom. So as I'm going to the restroom, I hear a truck going down the road. Okay. Now remember, it's 3:00 in the morning. There's only 5 families that live on this road, and we all know one another. We know each other's vehicles. We've met one another. Okay. So I come back and I'm looking out the window and I'm thinking, to myself, why is there a truck going down the road at 3:00 in the morning? Because most of our neighbors, actually all of our neighbors are older than us, and we're the youngest bunch on the block, so to speak. So, okay, it called me in my footsteps. So I'm, looking out the window like, who's going down the road? Just at the end of our property line, this truck, what I can make out of it, the silhouette of a truck and the taillights, it pulls just past our property line and it stops. I'm like, okay, so I'm kind of, huddling down like, what are they doing? Well, I see one man get out and I'm like, okay, hear the door slam. Then I see another one get out, hear the door slam. The headlights are still on at this moment. And I'm like, okay, why are these strange men getting out at the end of my property line? So I'm sitting here like pulling the, blinds down, trying to get them down, trying to roll. And I'm like, I don't want them to see it straight into my camper. So then I sit down on the couch and, I do the usual, pull the little blind down and I'm watching. Well, these 2 men, they get out with their flashlights and they're scanning. They scan the neighbor's property across from us. They scan the property right beside them, which is somebody else's and right there on the border of mine. And then they turn around and start scanning right where my camper is. And remember, we have no power, so it's pitch black. And they're scanning. And then they start scanning the road walking. Not that that's not creepy enough all by itself at 3:00 in the morning, remind you. So then they walk back to their truck. And they stand beside the truck. They turn both of the flashlights off and the headlights off and the truck off. I never hear the doors open and shut like they got back in. It's just completely silent for about 10 minutes. I don't know where these men went. I don't know what they were doing. I was thinking, well, maybe they're smoking a cigarette or maybe they're, smoking a left-handed cigarette, I never saw no lighters. Never saw no glow from any, cigarette or anything. Never heard no talking. No walking, no nothing. It's like these men just shut everything off and they stood beside the truck for 10 minutes. For some strange reason. Now, no, this is 3:00 in the morning. Everybody is asleep and it's pitch black outside. So I'm sitting there, and I'm almost to the point where I'm about to wake my husband up. And then all of a sudden, I see the headlights come on the truck. And I start seeing the truck drive off. Okay. Note, I never heard them get in the truck. I never heard the doors shut. Never saw no figures of the men getting back in the truck. So unless these men are like some super duper stealth people, I don't know how they got in the truck without me hearing or seeing. No silhouettes, no flashlights, no nothing. The truck goes down to the end of the road where my neighbor's property ends, turns around, because I can literally, it's so dark, I can watch the headlights go all the way down to the end of the road, watch them like travel through where they're turning around, coming back my way, and goes back down the road like a normal day. And that was it. They were gone. So, it's your best guess what they were doing. Because the next day, when my husband woke up, well, same day, but a couple hours later, I woke my husband up and told him. So we went up there, walking the road, seeing if we could see any tracks, even walk through the woods. You know, maybe they were, I don't know, burying something, digging something up. I have no idea what, I was thinking the worst. But there was no disturbed ground. There was no trash left on the road. I didn't even see footprints. I didn't see tire tracks. I didn't see nothing. It's almost like it was a ghost truck with two strange figures that decided to get out and stand in the dark at 3 o'clock in the morning for who God knows why. So, not a cryptic, but super freaking creepy if you ask me.
So this guy's property is along the edge of the woods, and late one night, he steps outside to go and close up his workshop. He said he brought his golden retriever, Ozzy, with him. Now, Ozzy is one of these dogs that is super chill, never really growls or barks, loves everybody. Not very easily spooked. But that night, the second they stepped off the porch, Ozzy's hair stood on end, and he started growling real deep in his throat. Cautiously now, he made his way over to his workshop, and he went to pull the door closed, and all of a sudden, everything went wrong. First, he said everything around went completely silent, like too quiet, so quiet he could hear his own heartbeat. And then, just like that, the silence broke. He described it as sounding like hundreds of things were running through the trees, snapping branches, crunching leaves, footsteps pounding on the ground, bushes thrashing. The sound didn't come from just one place. He said it came from all around him, circling the property. It was such a large area for all this chaos to be happening at once. It was mind-boggling. He said he whipped his flashlight out and he scanned the edge of the property and he could see nothing, but he kept hearing all of these sounds get closer and closer and louder and louder. Ozzy was even getting more freaked out and pressing his body up against him and growling even louder still, not moving an inch. He said the atmosphere just felt super heavy and wrong, almost like a storm was coming in, but it wasn't windy at all. There were no clouds in the sky, just a sick, panicked feeling in his gut that something was very wrong. So he and Ozzy sprinted to the house and slammed the door behind them and locked it. Even from inside, he could still hear the snapping and crashing outside in the woods. And then after a few minutes, total silence. All at once, it just ended. Everything went back to normal like nothing ever happened. He says he has no idea what could have been out there that night, but all he knows is that his dog has never acted like that prior or since, and he has never experienced anything like that before. And whatever was in those trees, he said could not have been just animals. It felt like something evil was lurking. I feel like every Appalachia story is so different from the next.
So we had flashlights, we had backpack of like medical stuff in case we would need it, we had dark clothing on, Tom had his pew-pew as always, I think George actually came with a pew-pew this time. I was still just vibing. I had a camera and a ring light attached to my chest. So we get about like an hour and a half into just walking around this place again, and nothing's happening, okay? It's dead silent, just like it was the first time. And then all of a sudden, we're in like the back of this building, like the back corner. There's no exits. We start hearing this like scratching around the building. This was our cue. At this point, we were like, all right, let's start moving our way towards the front of the building. So as we're working our way through this building again, we come up on this room on the left side of this building, and it has this big garage door and a small man door right next to it. Well, George takes the big garage door. Tom and I step over this bar that seems to be like propped in the way. We step over this bar that's leaning in front of this man door. So we get into this room, and it's pitch black, except for the dim light coming through the doors from the windows and the lights that we have and the ring light strapped to my chest. We can't see to the back of this room with our lights. It's too long. So it's just, we're staring into darkness, and there's this metal shelving on the left, some machines down the way, and on the right, there's industrial machinery as well. All of a sudden, from the darkness in the back of this room, I shit you not, we start hearing like drums. Dun, 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 dun. And they kept getting louder and louder and faster, and we all just looked at each other, and we were like, we gotta get out of here right now, bro. So we just start running, alright? Tom is doing his best to keep up. We're it's the same deal as before. We start running. And we come into the main room of the building. Well, we get to this room, and there it is. It's in the window. It's like this, looking at us. And it's this tall, lanky creature, long claws. It's just long arms, bro. And we did the same thing we did last time. We turned off our lights. We froze for a second. We just went the other way. All the while that this is happening, we started hearing the scratching across the building again, like all around it. We just heard around outside, and not twigs, but sticks, branches breaking on the ground. So we start running the other direction. We get out the side door, like it's a loading bay of some sort, and we cross this creek, and at this point we're crouch walking through the weeds and shit. And we circle the building back to our car, and we get in, and we get the out of there. We zoomed, bro. So we got back to the house, and I mentioned I had a camera. This camera I no longer have. It got stolen and was sold without my consent, and of course the SD card was in it. So we got back, and we put that SD card in my MacBook. And what we saw when we opened that file, I'll never be able to get it out of my mind. When we entered the dark room that had what sounded like the drums in the back, I had this camera mounted on my chest, and I panned around the room. And I mentioned there was shelving, right? Up against the wall, hunkered between these two pieces of shelving, was this creature. It looked like in a pouncing position, bro, like it was ready to spring on one of us. We all saw that on the video. We paused it. We all looked at each other because we all had that same realization. Why the was that metal bar propped up in front of the man door? Was that a trap to get our friend with prosthetics to trip? That was the first thing that we all asked. The second one being, what were the drums? Because we all heard the drums. To be honest, we don't really try to think about it a lot. I know I don't, and I know George doesn't.
The way he said it, when I asked if he had Cash App, Apple Pay, or whatever, and he was like, you don't have to give me anything, just get up out of here. He meant that. Why did he just say it like that? But okay, I'm gonna get my up out of here. And mind you, I still had to drop off the Instacart order. So, and the place, I was literally like 3 minutes away from their house, literally. So I'm like, okay, let me go drop this order off, go get gas and get my home. So I pull up, I find a place, they live back roads, dirt roads, like so country, little house on a prairie, scary, okay? The directions in the Instacart app said, don't go down the first gravel road, go down the second gravel road and leave it by the barn. It was a bunch of cat and dog food. So I start going down I see the second gravel road. It's a house. It's like a lot of land, okay? Grass. The house is pushed way back, giving Norman Bates type vibes. Okay, and then the first gravel road goes to their house. The second gravel road just goes around the corner. And then there's another house that's sitting back. So I go down the second gravel road and I'm going slowly and it goes down into some trees on both sides. It gets really dark for a second. Then you come out on the other side and there were a couple barns, but the gravel road kept going around and it's like it went around and went down further. So I stopped and I'm looking around. I'm like the barn, I seen the barn had a camera on it. I didn't see the address or where they wanted me to, but I wasn't getting out the car. So I just turned around and went right back through. When we come back through, I come out the other side of the trees and I'm back by the two houses. There's a dog. And the dog is running beside my car, barking, not letting me go. He keeps running in front and on the side. So I'm literally inching along because he's steady running beside my car, in front of my car, beside my car, in front of my car, and I'm trying not to hit it. So once I got so far in the driveway, he ran back to the house. So I'm like, I'm about to just put this stuff on this first porch. They'll figure it out. They probably related. They all in the same vicinity. So I pull up. I'm running the stuff back and forth to the house. Keep in mind, the house is creepy. The front door is open, but there's nobody out there. Nobody's saying anything. And I just thought it was very weird because we in the country, we're in the middle of nowhere, literally. I know y'all heard this car out here. I know y'all heard that dog barking. I know y'all know I'm out here. Y'all not gonna come see what's going on. So as I'm headed back to my car to leave, I see a white man in the backyard and he never looked up. He never acknowledged me. He just was walking through with something in his hand. And I was just like, I'm out here because I was scared. So I pull off and we make our way to the gas station. And I'm just like, thank you, God. We made it. By this time, it's dark. It's dark. I get the gas or whatever, hop in the car. We headed back home. So I'm still on a little back road or whatever. Got to make it back to the freeway so I can make it back to Greenville. And I noticed this truck, this white truck behind me. All its windows was blacked out and it had the little blackout covers on its lights. And it was just on my tail from the time that I left Ingalls to the time that I left to the point that I got off of He followed me until I got on the freeway, pretty much. And I was just like, okay, what's that about? Because I'm literally on a back road. We in this little country town. You ain't going the same way as me. You know what I'm saying? And when I turned off, he kept going straight. So I don't know. The whole situation was just very creepy, and I will never do it again.
Let me first shed some context on this area. You know how almost every region has a haunted location, like a haunted house? Everyone knows the history there, and everyone also knows that history is a little dark. People funnel all sorts of energy into that location. The human brain is a very powerful thing, and when enough human brains come together in one idea and focalize into a certain location, like a haunted house, for example, it can bring forth some things, manifesting entities with energies. Now, I live in the Appalachian foothills, the gateway to the Appalachian Mountains. I live smack dab in the middle of Wayne National Forest. A lot of native people used to live here, and they were relocated, offsetting an entire way of life, removing native people from their holy lands, native people dying in droves. Well, a lot of them focalized a lot of that energy to bring forth a certain entity that I don't even like saying out loud, but I've seen it, and it was terrifying. All of our roads around here just go through endless forest. It can kind of get to your head when you're driving at night. Hardly any cell phone service in a very remote and sparsely populated area. One night I was heading home from fishing, just listening to the radio and carrying on, when a coyote stepped into the middle of the road. This thing ain't moving out of the road, so I just hit my brakes and I sit there with it in my headlights. When I first saw it, it'd be about as far as where that barn is, but it got about as close to where that fence is right there. It was acting real strange, real confident, nonchalant, like I didn't matter, like that big hunk of steel that I was driving, it didn't care about. It was walking right down the center of that lane. When it gets from about me to that fence, it just stops. I've never seen an animal be so still in my life. So I'm honking my horn at it. I'm making all sorts of noise and hooting. I don't want to hit this thing. I want to just get around it. But something's really striking me off with it. I honk at it several more times till finally I take my car out of park. And the moment I took my car out of park, I saw it stand up. Just like the freaking hair on my arm right now, I saw it stand up on its back legs, man. And it rattled me to my core. We don't even say the name of this thing out loud here. You'll just invoke it. The only thing I thought to do was just accelerate hard and get past it and try not to look at it as I got by. But I could not help but notice it remained perfectly still, except for its head twisting, looking at me as I went by it. I was terrified to look at my rear view. Terrified. I flew down them old coal mining roads and those old wagon trails, man. I was hauling ass to get home. I never once felt like it wanted to hurt me. Just wanted to make sure that I knew that it was real. As big and as brawny and as strong as I am, there wasn't a single part of my head that thought that I could win whatever that was. It psychologically dominated me without barely moving. When it stood up, it looked like it had gained like an extra 2 feet, just perfectly still.
I just came across the craziest paranormal video I think I've ever seen in my life. And it happened right back here in these woods. I'm at a horse stable right now, as you can see. And the other day I was walking over here to see a guy working the land. He works in the horse stable. Anytime I see a guy working the land, I always get curious, ask them questions. I'll ask, have you ever seen anything interesting out here? And oftentimes they'll say like, oh yeah, I've seen some coyotes. And so finally, as the conversation was warming up, I say, hey, have you ever seen anything out here you can't explain? The moment I said that, his eyes lit up. He was like, it's really weird you asked me that question. He's like, just last week, my buddy took the craziest video back in these woods. He pulls up his buddy's private Facebook page. So it's a private Facebook page. He tried to send me a link to the video. I couldn't see the video on my own phone. So I had to pull the video up on his phone and take a video of it. I've sent this to a bunch of people. I've not seen anyone be able to explain what the heck is going on in this video. So I'm going to show it to you guys. Check it out and let me know what you guys think. Now, what's super weird about that video is the guy who took the video won't even go back into those woods anymore. Did you see the dog in the video? That dog was growling and it was looking over into the area where the apparition appears. And it was just, what a crazy video. I can't believe it. And I haven't been able to figure out what's going on. I mean, what do you guys think?
This was probably like 6 or 7 years ago. My cousin and I were staying there. And we love the Grove Park Inn because it's creepy, it's interesting, it's historic, it's different, right? And we've been multiple times. But every time we go, we kind of go with this idea of like, let's keep our eyes open and let's just be aware. Let's just stay aware and see what we see. So our first night staying there, it was probably like 2 or 3 in the morning. We had some wine, we were feeling brave, and we decided to go exploring in the hotel. And if you've been there, part of the hotel is like built in the 80s and it's really nice and fancy, whatever. But then there's also the historic part of the hotel that has been around for like over 100 years, and they're attached to each other. So we were staying in the new part, but we could very easily just walk through the lobby to get to the old part. So we're like, let's go to the old part, because if there's going to be anything like creepy, it's going to be in the old historic hotel. So we go over there, and the first thing we have to do is get on this elevator. And it's one of those elevators that has like the crate, the little gate thing that opens and closes. It's very old timey. You have to like push a button in to make it come. So we push the call button, wait, elevator door opens, and there's this old man standing inside, and he's wearing like this really like old-fashioned elevator operator costume. So he's got like a cap on, he's got a little jacket with like embellishments, and he's like really small and really old and really friendly, and he's like, hello ladies, what floor are you going to? And we're like 4 or whatever. He pushes the button, we go, all right, you have a great night. We're like, okay, thanks. We go exploring. Some really crazy stuff happened. So we get back on the elevator to go back to our room, and elevator man isn't in there anymore. And we're like, oh, bummer. Like, we wanted to ask him if he's ever, like, what's the craziest thing he's ever seen? Because obviously he's worked here a long time. So we get back down to the main lobby where there's really no guests, but there is like a few lone hotel employees who work the lobby all night. And this woman, she's just typing on the computer, and we go up to her and we're like, hey, the man who runs the elevator, like the operator, how long has he worked here? And she's like, the man that runs the elevator? And we're like, yeah, like the elevator operator with, you know, he had the hat and the jacket. You know, I'm thinking they must like have him wear that kind of stuff just to like give that historic vibe. And she's like, there's no man that operates the elevator. She's like, but people do see him from time to time. What? I'm sorry, what? She's like, yeah, people do see him from time to time. But no, there's nobody that operates the elevator. And we're like, so was it is this place haunted? Like, what's going on? And she's like, people have stories. I mean, she was the most like nonchalant. Like, she has clearly seen way crazier stuff at that hotel. But if you've stayed at the Grove Park Inn, I'm sure you have a story.
Well, we are in the middle of nowhere. I guess my door is locked. Oh my god. I can't even get out. Can I unlock it? There we go. Okay, hold on. You figure it out. I want to know why mine. Press the button back right there. Right there. On the door handle, like above the door handle. Above the door handle. You see it? Yeah. I don't know why mine freaking wall. Okay. What are we gonna do? What now?
I guess we'll have to walk to the store.
Hey. What do we do? What's that? I don't know. What the fuck? Did you hear that? Yeah, we better get back in the car.
Yeah, we better.
Oh no, it's locked.
Why is the car locked?
He needs to. Listen, this is scary. Oh my god. Okay.
Did it lock?
No.
What's the deal with this car? I don't understand.
You'll have to unlock it for me. Something weird has happened with this car. What's going on? I don't know. Let's see if it starts. It started.
Waiting for connection. Bluetooth connection success.
What was that? Ashley, I do not like this. Oh my god. Let's get out of here. Go. Does it run? Is it working? Yes, it is. It's working. Thank God.
If you ever felt the chill of something watching you in the woods, you're not alone. Don't forget to subscribe and share your own encounter in the comments below. The mountains are watching. Are you? As always, stay safe, stay aware, and question everything.